Thank you for joining us today. This is Next Level Contractor. I'm your host, Michael Bourgeois. Our mission at Next Level Contractor is to take brand new contractors, people going from trade experience to business ownership from day one all the way through to success. Call it the 2 year mark to avoid becoming a statistic in business where business fails in the first 2 years. Today, we have a guest named Noah Davis, and Noah is a super successful guy. We're blessed to have him on the show. To be honest with you, he is what you might call a serial entrepreneur. He has bought and sold companies for a profit. He has started companies that became profitable. He has bought and grown companies and held companies. I mean, he's done it all. Some non-construction related and other construction related companies. He's currently a partner in a roofing and general contracting company. He's the president of One Exam Prep, which is a contractor's exam prep company. He is just a wealth of information, and we are very fortunate to have him as a guest. So thank you for joining us today, Noah.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
So I know you're a busy guy, so I won't take up a lot of your time. I know you got all kinds of things going on, but what I'd like to do is ask you a few questions that have come in from new contractors that will help guide and coach new contractors on this sort of kind of could be a scary journey from being an employee to being a business owner and beyond. So especially in the beginning, that's the scariest part. So I'll get right to it. What are the first steps to starting a construction business?
Sure, that's a really good question, Michael. And I think that's, the biggest challenge that I think a lot of people face is taking that first step into the unknown. And if you've never been a business owner, it can seem really challenging for you. And so what I recommend to people is that they try to do as much as they can while working for somebody else. And what I mean by that is when you're running a business, everything falls on you. The payroll of your employees, the putting food on the table, the suppliers and everything like that. It's all on your head. But when you're working for someone else, you're able to see what's going on and take a step back and think about how you might do things differently. And so what I would do is if you had the luxury, and not everybody has this luxury, because some people they've started out, they're a handyman or they're someone who already is working out in the field and they're working for themselves, just not necessarily in a professional business yet. But what I would do if I were working for somebody and wanted to start my own business is I would at night and when I had time, I'd think about how all the things I need to do. I would make sure to set up my corporation. I'd get my banking set up. I'd focus on my licensing. I'd focus on all the stuff that I need to do behind the scenes so that when if I step out on my own, I don't know what not to do. Um, and even getting a mentor, that's something I think a lot of people should have. A mentor doesn't have to be someone who's paid. It could be somebody who is like you, who's been in your steps before, and people love to help other people. And so I think asking a lot of questions, and you'd be surprised how much people are willing to help out with. And so there are actually free resources to people who want to start businesses. I know the SBA has a program called SCORE, which is a good program that I used to be a part of. But there are a lot of people out there who just want to see other people successful. And I think finding people within your community, for instance, if you're part of a specific either ethnic group or you're part of a local community chapter or something, or former military or whatever, find people like you who have walked in your shoes and you can ask them questions. They'll be very willing to help. So getting as much advice as possible and preparing as much as possible before you step out, in my opinion, is the first thing that you should be doing.
I'm positive that's excellent advice. So legal stuff, licensing, get as prepared as you can before you launch your business.
And I would say that in regards to a mentor, don't think that your mentor that you're going to have or someone that you're going to ask questions from when you're starting your business may be the same person you always ask questions throughout your career. You need to find specific people who can address specific issues. Starting a business and getting it from day zero to day 90 or 180 is a huge difference between even 180 and 360. So, really focusing on the things that are gonna make a difference. Now, if you're trying to become a contractor and you want to establish a business, you have to do things to put yourself out there professionally. You're not going to be respected if you don't have a website or Google reviews or things like that. So, I know, those are some of the things that you need to do to get going. I think, we'll get into that a little bit more, but you want to have a professional presence, and you can't do that, if you're just, you're telling people I'm going to be, this is who I'm going to be. You have to put it out there to the world digitally in today's age.
Absolutely. A website. I mean, that's huge. If you don't have a website, are you even in business?
Well, nowadays it's not as much. People think websites now that they have to be all the bells and whistles and everything like that. You really don't need a very sophisticated website nowadays. You need What's more important is you need a website that actually is what I call a converting website, something that is easy for people to, when they come to the website, can they find your phone number easily? Can they find your hours of operation, where you're located, and a form to fill out to contact you? Make it easy for them.
So,
Texting, calling, chatting, whatever it is. Are you available when the customer wants you to be available? So it doesn't need to be the fanciest thing, but you do need to have something up there.
so just enough to have a landing page with contact information and a little bio on the company, and then a form fill if someone
Right.
wants you to contact them instead of them reaching out to you. If they could just fill out some information and you'll contact them. Is that
Correct, correct. And you should know that when you're one of the first things that when you're ready to be in business, one of the most important things probably more than anything is going to be make sure you're on Google. Make sure you have a Google listing. And to get a Google listing, they're going to want to see that you have a website. So you're going to need at least something on your website that has your address, has your phone number, that when Google does that search to correspond to the listing, to the to you, if you're authentic, that it's there. So that is, website slash Google listing is going to be probably one of your top key steps when you're starting that business.
got it? That's good advice. Yeah, I get if you don't have a website, are you in business? If you don't have a Google listing, are you even in business? Yeah, how would anyone know? That's what
Right.
everyone uses. What about Bing and Yahoo and
So I think I think you should be everywhere. That the truth is, if you can be everywhere, you should be everywhere. And do people use Bing anymore? Do people use Yahoo? So in general, the majority, 90% plus, use Google nowadays. But if putting yourself on Bing, not everybody's using it. So if you're out there, I guarantee you 90% of the other contractors didn't bother to put themselves on Bing. So, put yourself up there, be on all the different listings that you can be. And one of the nice things is when you become a contractor, the state publishes that information out there, and all of the other kind of listing agencies pick up that information. So if you ever looked up yourself and you're a licensed contractor and you type in your name or your company name, you're going to see yourself in 5 to 10 different places you didn't think you were. And that's because the state is just putting that information out there, and other listing agencies are just grabbing that information and they're putting it up there. So what I'd encourage you to do is, if you see those, go on all of those websites that you see your name or your company and finish your registration for your company name. Get a logo up there, get your phone number properly up there, your hours and everything like that. You'll be 5 steps ahead of other contractors who don't even bother to do that. So, you can do a lot of free stuff before you even start to think about advertising or spending any money. There's a lot you can do to get your name out there.
that's huge. Free advertising. Yeah, get your name out there for free. That's huge. Marketing budgets can range from something, $5 on Facebook to $500,000. So doing anything for free that's effective is that's a
And
$1 million idea
and
right there.
And I think, just you have to think about today's, audience. You have to put yourself in the customer's shoes. What is the first thing they're going to do when they are looking for a contractor? So number one, they want someone local, right? They people feel, regardless of what that really means, people want to see the local contractor in their community. So if you're local to that person, you have an advantage. Secondly, they're going to want to see some reviews, and that can be challenging for somebody who doesn't have a lot of business or any business at all. So there's a couple things you can actually do to, legally, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you have employees or you've done work in another, let's say you did work in another business, you can have people post reviews for you and just be honest in the reviews. You can have, if you have employees, you can say the employee can post a review, say, I work for such and such company. The boss is a great boss. I worked here for X amount of years or time, and I trust them, and so forth. So just getting some reviews up there is going to be better than having zero. Having zero means to most people that you're not in business. And
Mm.
so getting something up there is critical. When you do a job, when you do that first job, or you somehow land your first couple of jobs, do whatever it takes to get that review. Beg, plead, whatever you do, get that review from that customer to post it, help them, actually stand there with them as they do it. Because those first couple of reviews are going to be are going to really make a difference for you. And Google will keep those first reviews and they're going to showcase them. So, we can get in talking about how the reviews and how detailed you can be. I mean, obviously, video testimonials are better than written testimonials, but just to start, get some Google reviews, get some 5-star Google reviews up there, something that shows that you're in business.
Man, yeah, I that makes perfect sense. That's great information. Well, okay, another question that came in. Thanks for all that information, Noah. Another question that came in is, how do I create a business plan for my construction company?
Mhm.
What is a business
Um,
plan for a construction
right,
company?
right. I think business plans can be scary. You can see a nice long 50-page business plan, but that doesn't really mean anything necessarily to somebody who's just starting out and doesn't know. They're focused on day to day. Where's the next job going to come from? They can't think 5 years out. And so, you know, I do think a business plan is important, but I think I prefer a blueprint versus a business plan. So what I mean by that is I prefer to think of it in time frames. And I do believe it's important to write, and I'll tell you what I do in businesses that I'm involved with. So I usually write a 2 to 3 year business plan. Okay. Now there's a lot of ways, there's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of free ways to get a lot of the information. But it's really what you're doing is you're first setting the tone of what you'd like it to look like. And then what I do is I break it into 1 year goals, quarterly, monthly, and weekly. Okay, so by the end of the business plan, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for at the very least a 1 year goal of what I'd like things to look like. And it's very important when writing a business plan to be very, very specific about what you're looking for. It's not very helpful to write, well, I want to make $1 million, or I want to, I want to, be the number one company in this market or whatever it is. You have to drill down and be as specific as possible. So what the business plan is meant to do is it's meant to first establish what your goal is, what your ultimate goal is, but then drill down how you're going to achieve it, work backwards. So if your goal is to be, let's say your goal is to do $1 million, let's say in business for your first year. So
Mhm.
start breaking that down. So what is that? How much am I going to have to do each quarter? Okay, so you're going to divide that by 4. How much am I going to have to do? Then you can start looking into monthly. divide that by 3 because that's 3 months in each quarter. Then you divide that into weekly numbers, all the way down to bite-sized numbers. Then look at how much is your average job. Your average job might be $10,000. Okay, so I know that if I want to do $1 million in the year, I need to do 100 jobs. Okay, the number now sounds a little bit smaller to you, right? Now break that down divided by 52, right? So how many, I got to do 100 jobs in 52 weeks. Okay, so it's a little bit smaller. It's about 2 jobs a week. Doesn't sound so daunting anymore. And so start breaking up those numbers into weekly or monthly numbers. And what you'll hear a lot of people talk about is, there's a lot of business planning around, December time, November, December, January, right? A lot of people write the business plan, they put a lot of work into it, and they don't look at it again for the rest of the year. And
Mm.
that's really, you kind of wasted your time there, in my opinion. I think a lot of people will tell you that. What I believe, what I think you should be doing is you should be reviewing your business plan at least once a month. Read it once a month. Get it till the point where it's ingrained in your head. I believe in, there's other things we can talk about, like vision plans and things like that. I think, your mind is looking for these things, and it helps reinforce what you want to happen. So once you've written your business plan, write out your monthly, quarterly, and weekly tasks in order to achieve it. So in the case where we talked about you wanted to do $1 million of business the first year and your average job was $10,000. Well, we already figured out that you needed 2 jobs per week, right? You needed to do about $20,000 a week to hit that $1 million. Okay, so now if you know that you need to do 2 jobs a week, then how are you going to get those 2 jobs? Now you're only focused on how are you going to get 2 jobs per week. So what does that mean? Am I going to have to do, and maybe that it takes me 10 appointments to land 1 job. Okay. So now I know how many appointments do I need to get to 2 jobs per week. I need to see 20 customers. How many door knocks do I have to do to get to 20 customers? Well, I might have to door knock 200 houses to get to 20 real appointments, which yields 2 real jobs. So you got to break everything down into specific numbers that are task oriented, achievable things that you can do. Give yourself tasks every day. And what I do is every day I write down my tasks for the day. And I also, at the very, very top of my tasks, I write down review quarterly, monthly, and weekly goals. And so I look at that every day, and it just reminds me what my overall theme of what I need to do every single day. And it reinforces in my brain, even though I've already memorized those things because I've seen it so many times, it just reinforces what my mission is. But again, if there's anything that you can do, you want to break down that big goal into smaller, achievable things that you can actually do. It's if I tell you I want to make $1 million, well, how? How am I going to do that? Well, at the end of the day, if I realized that $1 million meant I was going to door knock 200 clients per week, now I have a path to do that. So that's would be my recommendation in terms of using a business plan that can actually be used in the real world.
Wow, you are a whirlwind of information. So make a big plan and then just reverse engineer it down to almost like a daily action plan.
Exactly. Exactly.
Um, it's the genius is in the simplicity there, really. I mean, when you say it, it sounds like the most logical thing to do, but I bet there's probably a million people that are going to watch this, and it'll be an idea that hadn't occurred to them to do it that way. So that was awesome. Um, what what legal and insurance requirements need to be met for something like this for a construction company?
Right. So, in general, I'm not a lawyer, and there's a lot of good advice out there that you can get on this topic. In general, I think you see a lot of small construction companies using either the LLC structure or the S corp structure.
Hmm.
Um, LLCs are really designed for either single or multi-member. Maybe it's a family, a small family. There's a couple of people in the family. And the reason why people use the LLC is that it's a very easy, it's an easy entity that is very easy to, it passes through usually down to the individual. So let's say there's two people that are two partners that are part of this LLC. It's a 50-50. You're going to end up having a business tax return for that LLC, but then all the profits or losses flow directly to each of the partners. So it's simple that way. A corporation, a C corporation, is a little bit is more challenging because there's essentially double taxation. There's taxation at the corporation level. So first, the corporation's profits are taxed, and then whatever dividends or money that you get out of it that flows down to the individual is taxed again. So usually C corporations are usually meant for larger companies, but LLCs, limited liability companies, or S corporations are similar. I generally use LLCs. I think they're simpler to set up. You can set, every state, you would set that up at the state level. You can use services. I know we at One Exam can help with that kind of thing, but it's a very simple thing to do. There is, every year, once you set it up, you're going to have to, in every state, there's going to be an annual, like I know in Florida, you have to file an annual report on the state's website once a year. So there are requirements that you have once you're in business, but there is a lot of value in that protection. I mean, there is, what you don't want ultimately is if you build a business and you've worked really hard and you've done it in your own personal name, let's say, and one day, for not your fault, you get sued or whatever, there's no protection if you're doing it yourself. Now, not to say that there is a misconception that just because I have a corporation, I'm protected. Well, that's, lawyers' jobs are to figure out how to get around that. And so there are much more detailed ways to really, what you want to do is separate what we call alter ego. And this is a legal term. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but this is just through experience. You want to ultimately separate your name from the business. I mean, the business operates on its own. The business is its own entity. So if something were, God forbid, to happen to the business, it doesn't ruin your life. Now, there's a lot more beyond that, but there's, and this is also not just a legal thing, but one of the reasons why you want to separate your name long term from the business. So let's say you want to sell the business one day and your name is synonymous with the business. Well, it's unlikely someone's going to buy that business one day, because if you go away, the business goes away. So if I called my business Noah Davis Construction, and one day, and I built up my business, and one day I want to go sell my business because I want to retire, well, they're going to say, well, is Noah Davis coming along or is he leaving? And when I leave, they're going to say, well, that value erodes quickly, if I'm the business. So that's when you think about naming your business or things like that, what a lot of people will tell you as you do grow your business is you want to slowly be able to step away and show that business operates on its own. That's how you build true value long term in the business, or what we call equity. And one day when you want to sell the business and you worked hard, just like you own a house and you pay down your mortgage and you want to be able to sell your house one day, the same thing, your business is, you treat your business like a house. You're building equity in your business every year. You're building brand equity. But if you can't separate yourself from the business, you're going to have a hard time one day trying to sell it. And a business broker saying, well, you are the business. So if you leave, there is no business. So it's just something to think about.
This episode of the Next Level Contractor is sponsored by One Contractor Solutions, Florida's leading provider of back office services for builders, contractors, subcontractors, and developers. From permit expediting and private provider services to contractor municipality registrations, insurance supplement assistance, and bookkeeping, They are your one-stop shop for managing your contractor back office. Save time and money with One Contractor Solutions. Get a free, no obligation quote today at www.onecontractorsolutions.com or call 954 233 0155. Yeah, that's a huge thing to think about. Um, I have some follow-up questions for that, but
Mhm.
they're my questions. So
That's true.
we'll get through. I'll see if we have time, but let's get through the questions that we have already. So, how can a person build credibility without experience? Right? Because when you're just starting out, you've been working for somebody else. You've been helping to build their brand. You've been helping to strengthen their company, make, their construction company, however much you help them make. And now you're ready to go out on your own and do that. But your brand new company has no credibility,
Mhm.
in the field that you're working in the trade that you're working in. So how do you build that?
So we talked a little bit about that, which was getting some Google presence, some online presence, and the good news is once you become a contractor, as I said, the state is officially they publish your name, at least in the state of Florida, and you're going to be all over the place. So when someone searches you, they're going to instantly see your name with your license number. So that's a kind of an advantage. Just having a license is going to be pretty valuable.
Because now that's public record.
That's
And like
public.
you said, it gets displayed
Mhm.
in several places.
Correct. Correct. But like I said, you want to get those basic Google reviews up. You want to get a couple of jobs. You can. I'm sure if you went into business, you didn't go into business not having any clue what to do. You probably had some idea of how to get some business, some jobs. You got some jobs. You've got to take advantage of those jobs. Don't let those initial jobs go to waste. Meaning, get a Google review out of them. If you need to get, say, bring them a gift, say, I really would appreciate a Google review. It means the world to me. I'm a small business. Whatever you beg, plead, whatever you have to do to get them to leave a Google review. And they will. People will do that if they feel a connection. Over time, you're going to find that as you have many customers, it gets harder to build a connection individually with that client. But initially, they're going to see you put your blood, sweat, and tears into that job because you were there, you were on site, you were doing everything. And so they will leave that review for you. You can count on that. I mean, they unless you didn't do a good job, but get those first couple of reviews. That's going to start to build that credibility. Um,
So
uh,
all that legwork that you spoke about earlier regarding getting your name out there, registering it, as many free things as you can, and then whatever it takes to get those first couple of Google reviews.
and I would say that one of the things to start out with is, and it's sometimes hard if you're, let's say you're a GC or even a roofing contractor, you want to specialize. You want to have some kind of niche that you tell people I'm an expert in. And so if let's just say you're a roofing contractor, well, I'm an expert in this type of roof, or if you're at GC, I really focus on kitchen remodels, or I focus on this style. And so that's more to help, when you're networking. You're networking to, and we can, that's a whole different topic about how to network and build your credibility there. But if you're going to meet realtors, you're going to other construction events, there are contractors looking for subcontractors like you. So if you tell somebody this is my specialty and they hear that, they're going to think of you the next time that they need a subcontractor for that specialty. So that's one of the ways you can start to establish that. If you tell people I do everything, well, they're not going to really think about you. You know, over time, maybe that's something that you do, and I'm sure that when you're starting out, you're willing to take really as many jobs as you can. But in terms of building a credibility with a professional audience, having a niche will help remind that person when it's time for them, when they're thinking about what they need. So that's something I would do if I were starting out.
Specializing, right? They say riches and niches. I've heard that many times.
Yeah.
So specialization, okay. Get really, really, really good at one thing. Be the best at the one thing.
Hmm.
Cool. That's great advice. So here's one. I'm just imagining, a person, a guy, a woman, a guy, a gal, whatever, starting out, right? They've been in a trade for a long enough period of time to know their stuff. They're competent in their profession. They started a company. Let's say they had some idea of how to acquire business and how to get customers and all this good stuff. And so they're functioning, right? And they're pulling their hair out because now they're I guess it's chief cook and bottle washer is the expression. They're
Right.
doing everything. Um, so what tools and equipment
Hmm.
does a person need to start a
Hmm.
business regarding software and organization, right? I mean, they're going to
Hmm.
know if they need a hammer, they already have a hammer. I'm not talking about those kind of tools, not hand tools, but like software tools, computer tools, even third-party resources. I mean, what do you outsource first? What part of you do you replace first when you're
Hmm.
starting a business?
Right. So, there's the good news is in today's day and age in 2025, there's so much out there, and it's become so inexpensive to have tools like that to
Hmm.
manage your business. So if you're in construction, finding a software that manages your construction projects, your CRM or your customer relationship manager, where you're going to manage your prospects, it can get really disorganized quickly if you are using pen and paper and you're having other people help you. Having a software like a CRM to help manage that, there's a lot of softwares out there that for specialties. If you're a roofer, if you're whatever, or if you're a GC, there are softwares out there that you can usually get starter plans on that are really inexpensive. And you really want to focus on that as your core important software first, because that is the software that's going to speak to all the other softwares. So that software will help talk to, it may even talk to your Google reviews, meaning you can respond to your Google reviews, to your social media. Sometimes it will, establishing social media, but it will also talk to your customers. So your customer communication, if you want your customers to text you, email you, call you, whatever, it can all be housed in one environment that you can just look up and you can see all the history of that client. So as you add more employees, rather than having to forget information that happened, you have it all in one place. So a good project manager or software is important, and that ultimately is going to tie in with your financial software, which I like QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online can be used for a startup all the way to companies doing tens of millions of dollars. So it's, having all of your records in one place, your banking, your credit cards, everything in one place. QuickBooks has great ways to sync in with, just putting your username and password in. It just pulls all your information. Now, if you're not a great, somebody who knows how to do that, there's definitely services out there that can help you do bookkeeping and things like that. But in general, just getting your stuff all in one place, even setting up QuickBooks and pulling all this information in is going to be a big help at the time when you're going to do your taxes, because then all your information is sitting there. Even though you're going to have to categorize it and think about that process, but at least you've started to kind of compartmentalize all your key important things. So I'd say accounting, I'd say project management. In nowadays, those can usually accomplish in a small company, 80 to 90% of what you might need. And there's obviously more that you can go into. Finding a big, usually a bigger company with, uh, software usually has, just like if you think of Apple, they have apps that work within their software. So many of these other softwares used in construction have apps that work, talk to other places, and that's what you're going to kind of look for. But there's a lot of starter packages, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to get started.
Gotcha. So organization needs to be digitized, right? Financial organization,
Hmm.
customer lists organization, customer conversation organization, dates, times. Pen and paper is a recipe for disaster, from what I understand. You think
Right.
that's probably pretty accurate? Because
Yeah,
how many notebooks can you keep up with, right?
yeah, and even spreadsheets, you can have a million spreadsheets, a lot of people now are using, they'll use Google Sheets and things like that. But that you can get lost there too. I mean, those services are free, but it doesn't really help you manage things. And you got to think about when you're sending your emails and when you're sending your text and you're communicating with your customers, you want it to look professional. So softwares already do that for you. And one of the things you need to think about is that everybody's doing things on their mobile. So it's important that everything be mobile optimized. And we didn't really talk about that, but when it comes to your website, when it comes to whatever you're doing, you have to check it, or you have to make sure that it's mobile optimized, that when someone's looking at your website or looking at the emails that come into you, if you're looking at it on your desktop or your computer, don't just check it there. Check it, pull out your phone if you have an iPhone or you're an Android or whatever. Ask someone what is it, and what does it look like on their screens too, because that can look very unprofessional as well. And just a little tip, something that I thought of that I've run into many times is that when you get started, you're going to buy. You may use your cell phone, but when you get a business number, in which I do recommend getting a business number because again, it creates that separation between your personal life and your business life. But once you get that business phone, test it test it out on other calling other people, meaning call people with different cell services. So if somebody has T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, whatever, and they have different phones, test it out by calling them. Sometimes it will report it as spam. And so imagine
Oh,
you are calling someone and all of your phone calls say spam on it. You're not going to get a lot of pickups. So test that beforehand. There are things you can do to remove it from spam lists, but a lot of times when somebody sells you a phone number or a software sets you up with a new phone number, it's usually a phone number used from another place. So it could be a phone number tied to another business from before. Google that phone number. Put that number before you start using that phone number. Put it into Google. See what comes up. You may see that phone number was tied to a business that went under and had a lot of unhappy customers. So don't use
mm,
that phone number. Start over, get another phone number. Phone numbers are cheap, they're easy to get, but once you've established that that phone number is yours, it's hard to replace it. So, it's that's just a
yikes. Yeah.
little tidbit that you want to think about when you're looking at phone numbers and everything. Mobile friendly, check it for spam, check your emails are coming through and not going to spam. Don't assume that if you sent an email or a text, it's getting through. You've got to be thinking about all those things when you're the business owner and not assuming the world's just going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. You have to not assume the worst, but you got to be paranoid. Always stay paranoid about everything when you're starting out. So I
That's the
even
secret to success. Stay paranoid.
stay paranoid. Absolutely. So
That something could go wrong, right? Just the Murphy's Law. Keep it in mind.
exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Um, Noah, it has been an absolute pleasure to receive all this outstanding information and advice from you. I, we're out of time. I know you got to go. I'm wondering, would it be okay if I asked you to, or if we asked you to come back on the show some other time? Because there's so many
Absolutely.
follow-up questions I have to some of the things that you said, and
Mhm.
I have no doubt that there's going to be a million questions that come in from so many things that you touched on. I won't even try to get started right now on all the follow-up questions. We could probably sit here for the next 48 hours, and I bet you would have an answer for every follow-up question. You truly, truly do have a ton of knowledge in your head. And thank you for coming on and generously sharing that with us today.
Sure. I believe that, people have over the years shared a lot of valuable insights with me, and I think you've got to keep paying it forward. So, whatever insights I can share from experiences, hopefully, somebody else can pay it forward as well.
Well, we certainly appreciate it, Noah. So if you so now for everybody listening or watching, if you got value out of what you heard today, then be sure to like and subscribe for just that way you catch all the updates in the next episodes. Hey Noah, one more
Mhm.
thing before you go. I heard you mention at one exam prep, you could help out with some of these things that you touched on
Mhm.
today. You talked about that way earlier. What are some of the things that one exam prep could help out with?
So one exam prep, we're a full test prep and licensing company for contractors, really around the United States, but we really focus on, uh, the a lot of the Southeast states, and we're based out of Florida, but we focus on all the books and courses that you need. We have self-study courses, we have live virtual classes, we have tutoring. We also have an applications department that can help set up your corporation. It submits the information to the state. We can help get your business started, and we actually have a full suite of services that takes you beyond that. Um, we have an insurance department as well called One Insurance Solutions, and a whole back office solutions business called One Contractor Solutions that can actually help you do a lot of the things, do bookkeeping, permit expediting, estimating, things like that. So, our goal is to make sure that, when you come to us to become a contractor, that you actually not only get licensed, but become successful in your business also. So we're here for you to.
So you could take a person, an employee of a contractor, who's worked in the trade, has the relevant experience, help them pass the exam,
Mhm.
help them submit their application, help them register their corporation, and then once they have all that in place, you help them get their insurance, I think you said, and then also um, bookkeeping, permit pulling, and some other related tasks.
Everything that you can do in the back end for a business, and providing back office support is something that we can help with.
Well, that's pretty awesome. It sounds like you know what to do as well. So that's pretty outstanding that you offer all that. So you can. I mean, you're the guy. You're the guy to see. How does just oneexamprep.com, would that be a good place to start?
Yeah, oneexamprep.com. You can find all our information there. You can also go to oneinsurancesolutions.com or onecontractorsolutions.com, and you can, talk to one of our people. And these are all people who've helped. We've helped thousands and thousands of contractors over the years, and we can help you as well.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again, Noah. I really appreciate it. And I guess I will be looking forward to the next time that we can get you on here to answer some more questions.
Absolutely, it was great. It was a pleasure, Michael.
Pleasure's all mine. Have a great day.